She also knitted me this thing right here. You see right here.
Oh, that would have been so perfect. That would have been so good.
I always forget, man. I should just literally as soon as you guys get in.
Last week we were like, oh, we should do it at the end, which I don't know. Maybe it won't go as well if we know we're being recorded. Who knows?
Well, if you start,
it's just
it's
just got to be like natural, like we're not being recorded. We're just talking, but it's being
that's
recorded.
how I feel.
Me and Corp are just talking. Nothing's funny.
Hey, what did you guys think of that Eli thing?
I haven't seen much on it yet, but it seems pretty stupid.
I don't know.
I think it's really fucking stupid.
for Gino.
Well, it's like, why are you even okay? So he's got the streak, like he's the face of the team. Like apparently nobody thinks he's gonna be that like on the team next season. It's like, why would you just not let him finish out the fucking season? That's already over for them.
Especially like if they're gonna throw Davis Webb in there or something, like just to see what they got, it would make just a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
But Geno Smith, nice.
Never know.
Yeah, he had a perfect passer rating last week of 20. I don't even remember what year it is anymore. 2013? 2014 it was, I believe.
Probably. I don't know. Piece of garbage. That's what he is. I got kind of inspired today. I wanted to start watching some quarterbacks.
Hey.
Thought about paying my $2.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
QB1.
Support the cause. What a great site.
Yeah.
Like, I need something else in my life right now. And it sounds like that's nice.
It's nice. I just have those days where you just hunker down and watch a bunch of film, and it feels good.
Plus, basically, when I watch football now, usually it's some trash ass game like the Texans and Ravens. So I just like put the game on and then watch tape instead.
Yeah. You pop. Oh, there goes Alex Collins. Maybe he'll bingo.
Oh my God, was that terrifying?
God, imagine if you watched this week.
I don't know what I would have done. Like Alex Collins scored, and I was at work, and I was like trying to check my phone, and like I thought right there that it was like fucking over.
God, yeah. If you and Dan would have lost, 4-8-4 teams, 2-7-5 teams. Whoa.
Even more parity. Like it's already fucking bananas now. That would have been legit.
I can't even describe what that would have been like.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden, me and Dan are like really not okay.
You guys are vulnerable, just like
nobody's okay. Like you guys are like somewhat safe right now.
Yeah.
If you guys lose this past week, nobody's.
I mean, if I lose games to Kelvin and Carter season, like fuck it. I don't even want to be in the playoffs because I'm not gonna fucking win the belt if I can't be.
Is Mingo cutting out for you too, or is that just me?
Yeah, he cut out for me. Looks like he's back.
I'm cutting out.
You were a little.
No, you're good now. It was not really even a cutout. It was like your voice started doing this.
Transformer.
That's really nice. If it happens again, I'm gonna need you to scream at me.
Fuck up, Mingo.
All right, guys, ready to do this shit?
Oh yeah.
I'm ready to suck Brock's dick. I'm ready to break Tim down, and I'm ready to yell at Caleb.
Why can't someone just suck my dick for once? I don't get it.
Yeah, Caleb's putting up respectable totals again.
Like, why don't you get out of the bottom half of the scoring in the league and then talk?
All right. I'll just put up a 200 spot on Brock this week.
If that happens, Caleb, I will eat a shoe on next week's podcast.
Well, you already have to eat one for Kareem Hunt from last week.
I don't remember.
Oh, you might as well make it a pair.
Somebody buy me a pair of sneakers. Get the fork out. Oh my god!
I would prefer them be the big baller brand shoes.
We spend $600 to a pair of shoes. Love it.
Never lost.
Oh, am I fucking ready for the playoffs? I need to know what's going to happen this year. That's what I need to know. All right, let's fucking ride. I don't remember what I said. Oh yeah, Brock and Tim. All right.
Let's stop.
Sorry. Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's the Week 12 edition Web.com podcast 2017. Guys, we're in year 5 now. We have 2 weeks to play. This thing's almost over. We're almost officially 5 years old. What are we going to do? What's going to happen?
Eventually the season will end and we'll do the rookie draft and we'll start year 6.
Oh yeah, that's right. It doesn't have to end.
It
doesn't end, no.
5-year anniversary T-shirts or something.
Ooh, that would be really
nice. we need long sleeve white Under Armours with the logo on.
I need a nice long sleeve shirt, and a web one would really make it nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna happen.
Yeah,
at some point.
Need apparel for either this or Nude Fam. Both would. We just need apparel in general.
That's why I was so excited for the logo, because I was like, I'm gonna order shirts right after that, and then I never actually put in the effort to do that.
That'll be a task for this off season. We'll get the ball rolling on that, because I think every single person would be like, "Wow, that's awesome."
Yeah.
One more housekeeping thing, because Tim asked me this week, so I don't know if we made it clear, because I think it was at the end of a podcast, but we're for sure gonna do the New Year's Eve thing, correct? Correct.
Yes.
So,
New Year's Eve, I'm off. I'm off New Year's Day. I'm not making that mistake again of going to work with a massive hangover.
Web.com public service announcement, New Year's Eve official bust up web. What were we gonna call it? Web Fest?
Yeah, Web Fest. Presentation and fun.
Anybody, I don't know where it's gonna be yet, but anybody is welcome. Preferably significant others, so you can mention them in your speech if you win.
Yes, that is a must.
Yeah.
If you win and you don't bring somebody with you, then you did it wrong.
Someone to hug and kiss at the end.
Yeah. No excuses, Caleb. Right?
All right.
All right, guys. Well, we had a nice little slate this week. Still, nothing is for certain with 2 weeks to go. So it's only going to get hotter from here. Week 13 probably going to answer some questions, I would assume, but that's also not really for sure either. So week 14 definitely setting up to be one of the most dramatic weeks in the history of this league. And with how the season has gone, I'm not surprised. We still have 6 teams fighting for the playoffs. And we had 2 of them competing against one another this week in our game of the week, which was decided by me because I didn't put a poll up. Brock and Tim. And so going into this game.
Destruction.
Stop it. Stop.
It's already dead.
We're gonna get to the Tim hate. It's gonna come. I'm not going to give up now. I've spent 12 weeks or 11 weeks doing this. So I'm not going to stop now. But going into this week, this is Tim's biggest game. This is Tim's chance to silence the haters, to beat the face of the Pac-5 and claim it as his own. And what happened?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you. What'd you do to him?
Took him out back. brought with me my old trusty shotgun. Straight executed him.
lured him back there with the hopes of clinching the playoffs, and you put the barrel in his mouth, and I'm not going to say that Tim's playoff hopes are dead by any stretch, because they're definitely not. However, it's not looking as good as it was 2 weeks ago when Tim had a 2-game cushion over the Pac-5. Now he's got Caleb, and now he's got you. And he's got you coming off of a 100+ point victory, the second largest blowout victory in web.com history this week, courtesy of David Wilson Batman. And a 224-point effort, I believe, was the 8th highest score of all time. So in a season in which scoring has been very low, Brock has found a way to post 2 220-point games, which matches the total overall from the last 3 seasons. From 2015 till right now, other than the 2 that Brock has had this year, there was only 2 others. So it's very rare to see 220s, and Brock has done that twice in our lowest scoring season ever. So yeah, Brock, I mean, you're cooking, man. You are ready to claim that Pac-5 title again.
Team's hot. Like I said, playing playoff games week in, week out.
Yeah,
the boys are awake.
Yeah, and we've been talking about these must-win games for this team the last 2 weeks, and you've gone out, posted week highs in both weeks. And I have the data. I tweeted this out. I tweeted some of this out earlier about easiest road and highest chance to make the playoffs.
Hey, before you start that, I just want to point out one thing, because I'm not sure if it'll come up again. But Julio Jones before this week was like the wide receiver 25 or something. He's now the wide receiver 3. What ridiculous jump this late in the season. I just needed to point that out.
God.
It's so stupid. It's Keenan Allen was just in the 30s. He was just in the 30s, and now he's 6.
Yeah,
like it's
wow.
Wide receivers. It's ridiculous what all it takes to get up there. But
yeah, all you got to do is have a 250-yard game.
Julio Jones. Wow. About time, I would say.
Oh, great.
I just take a sip of my grape juice. Sorry. All right. So I have the data. Tim and Brock. Brock has what I would say the easiest road to the playoffs at this point. You're playing Caleb this week and Josh to close the season. That's the lowest points per game average. That's the lowest WIB average of any of the 6 playoff teams remaining this season. Now, the Caleb game is interesting because it's like, oh, he's got the easiest road. You're playing an 8-4 team this week. So, I mean, what do you make out of that? You know, like the kids found a way to win 8 games. But technically it's a easy game if we're looking at the numbers. So, I mean, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting that, like you say, easiest schedule, but then like, oh, you think, oh, he's playing Josh and fucking Dave or something. But no, like if I lose to this squad that I'm going up against right now, I'm giving up a game to a team that I absolutely cannot give up a game to. Actually, I would not be able to catch him if I lose. So yeah.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the stakes are so high for a game that is so like it's going to be heavily favored in your direction, Brock, points wise. I would imagine projection wise. You're the now number 1 scoring team in the league. You overtook me. So 12 weeks in, I have been dethroned. And it wasn't by Dan, which is kind of what everybody was expecting. It was Brock, 162.8 per game. Still second in WIB, healthy little 6.2. So, I mean, you're definitely getting hot at the right time. You're looking like a very scary playoff matchup. And, I mean, kind of out of nowhere, all of a sudden, it looks like the Pac-5 might still be in your reaches after you kind of played catch-up for most of the season. So
yeah, so hopefully the last time I dropped the 220, I struggled the next couple of weeks. So hopefully that
Okay.
not happen again.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Caleb's excited to hear that.
The points were just piling up when it was already apparent that I was not going to need them, and I was just like, please save it,
save them,
please.
Save some of them. So we already talked about Tim, and I mean we've talked about him all season long about the overperformance and all of this stuff. I just want to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what Tim is doing right now because he's currently sitting at a 4.1 WHIP. Now, Brock made the playoffs last year with the lowest WHIP ever for a playoff team, and that was 4.5. Tim is currently holding a share of the Pac-5 lead with a 4.1 WHIP, which equates to a 6-win team. So he's 8-4, playing at the level of a 6-win team, averaging 141.8 points per game, which is now over 20 points less than Brock.
He did most of that with Zeke, and now we know Zeke.
Right, and we see it this week. 120.9 was a 1 WHIP. So, and he's got a game with Dan coming up. He's got the big game with Caleb to end the season. Like, this all of a sudden just got very, very sketchy for Tim. Like, a loss versus Dan this week turns the Caleb game into a must-win. Probably not to win the Pac-5, but probably just to make the playoffs. So, I mean, it's gonna get weird.
There's a scenario that Parker brought up to me where Tim could be out of the playoffs looking in after this week. And that's all it takes is him losing to Dan, me winning, beating Caleb, and
Parker winning.
Also winning. Yep. Tim would be outside of the playoffs trying to get back in on week 14.
That is insane. I can't even believe that.
And he's gonna be without Michael Crabtree for 1 week now.
That's true.
Deal. That didn't help with the score this week either. That he got ejected.
No.
But
yeah, it was just a bad, awful, no good, nothing could happen right week for Tim.
Yeah. Luckily, he'll have Crabtree back in time for his matchup against me, so Crabtree will rip my heart out for the 3rd time this season.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I know. 3 times. You don't expect that.
Yeah. I don't want to, we bashed him all season long, but it's time to face the facts. All right, and facts don't seem to be in Tim's favor at this point of the season. So, all right, let's talk. I want to talk about Parker's game because Parker's got a lot at stake coming up here in these last 2 games, and he's kind of almost been the forgotten team as we've progressed into this late season playoff hunt because he's like that 3rd Big 5 team. Like, he's 2 games behind Dan and I, and there's all the drama in the Pac-5, and he's just kind of that team that's still hanging around. He's still posting his good totals and stuff. And all of a sudden here with 2 games to play, like you just mentioned, he could actually claim a playoff position heading into the final week of the season. If he was able to win and Tim was lose. But
and maintain the scoring edge. I'm not sure how close that is right now, but
well, with what he did this week with the 190.9, he now has a very healthy advantage over Tim. So what was like 1 or 2 points last week is now 8 points per game. So yeah, Parker is very sneakily kind of hot. He's got a week high in the last 4 weeks, 3-1, a week high, averaging 164.6. We kind of counted him out. he had that 3-game losing streak, and he's rebounded from that in a huge way. And now, he beats Carter in a game that, you got to win if you want to make the playoffs. And he's got Kelvin coming up next. So 1-11 Kelvin, burned him last season late in the year, but
oh God, why'd you bring it up?
I'm so sorry.
Kelvin coming off a 160 performance.
170.
170.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, this is not your typical. It doesn't. You look on the schedule like 111. No, Kelvin.
No.
This
Especially with
that
isn't
is-
this isn't your run of the mill shitty Caleb team.
Right.
That's a great point, Caleb, because people are like, you see this Kelvin team and you're like 1-11, like circle it, win.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, he's on an 11-game or a 10-game losing streak, but I mean, 170.8. He's got a loss with like 150 in there, a lot of like mid to high 140s. Like, kid puts up points. He just hasn't gotten the benefit of the draw in some of these weeks. So, I mean, he could be a scary matchup. I got him. Parker's got him yet. But if Parker keeps going the way that he's going, then you kind of got to assume that he's going to be able to take that game. Sets up a massive game with Dan to close the season, which honestly could end up being like Big Five type implications if a lot of things fell in his favor, but probably more so just looking at really solidifying a playoff position in the wild card. But
What an all-time roller coaster year from Parker.
Yeah.
It's just
seriously.
every week, like, oh, Parker's dead. Come back 2 weeks later. Oh, he's back. He's dead. He's back, and now
Well, I think
who knows?
the emergence of Robbie Anderson has really steadied up
Yeah.
the roller coaster. This dude, wide
Robbie, yeah,
7 right now.
So
the best
ridiculous.
catches I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know what's going on there, but it's what Parker needed, really. Another flex guy after David Johnson went now, and then he's got Alfred Morris in there. I guess is serviceable at running back, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Robbie Anderson, waiver wire pickup, middle of the season. Like, you never know who it's going to be. Like you see this guy sitting out there, like guarantee everybody was looking at him like, who's this guy that's projected for like 8 points on the Jets? And you're just like, oh, he's on the Jets, whatever.
Mhm.
Deep threat on the Jets. And all of a sudden, he's a significant piece for a playoff hopeful team. So,
And if Parker gets into the playoffs, he's one of those scary teams that could all of a sudden get his stud back.
That's true.
Yeah.
And this team reminds me a lot of your team, Brock, from last season, where you're coming off of 2 very dominant seasons, and all of a sudden it's like adversity hits you. Like you got to grind it out to get into the playoffs, and you kind of almost like limp in a little bit, and all of a sudden, you win the title. Parker's no stranger to winning titles in Webb, but this would be kind of a different. I mean, his first title in the 8-6 season, coming off the number 2 overall pick season, was kind of like a Cinderella type of a thing. This is like Webb powerhouse, and like you mentioned with the roller coaster type season, kids still got a chance. Like this would be far different than like last season when he was like the best team ever. And the previous season when he was, still, led the league or second in the league in scoring and stuff like that. So, yeah, very different season, but Parker's still right in there. It's impressive. Let's see what we got here. So I had a little bit of a scary week versus Josh. Kind of sweated that one out. But W's W, 9-3. Still not really sure what's going on with some spots in my team.
I have a stat. You can let me know when you want to put the stat in to the podcast.
Ooh, I have another stat. But do
Caleb's.
you want?
I missed that. You cut out for me.
I didn't cut out. I was just stuttering.
Oh,
I have something. It's a little different.
should I? Who do you want to go?
You can go. You can go. You can start.
I'll go. Since week 3, Blake Bortles.
He took it from me.
I'm just saying if Blake Bortles is sad. I don't know what you're talking. Blake
Okay.
Bortles is on Corp's team, isn't he? Or is he not? Blake Bortles has more rushing touchdowns than Kareem Hunt. With 2, I believe. 2. Is that yours?
Yeah, I had an inside source.
We probably had the same inside source.
I'm gonna go.
I don't remember who it was.
It is. Name start with a T.
TF. I don't know.
Does it rhyme with rim?
I don't know. I can't
Okay,
think of
maybe it might probably different people. Probably
Shut
just
up.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm
fact.
done. All right, I'm done. I'm just done.
I don't actually think he's good anymore, man.
I don't think so either.
He's lost all his talent.
Never had any
This-
talent. That's
Ooh.
Okay. Hang on a second.
Better. Marlon Mack better.
The Chiefs have imploded. Can we
Oh, yeah,
can we
that's-
say that is a thing that has
Yeah.
happened?
The mess.
So I'm gonna start there. I'm gonna say the kid that had 6 straight 100-yard games is not actually bad at football, but is not good right now, and is now considered by the one and only football
bust?
guru, Matthew Berry, not a must start anymore.
Ooh.
Matt Berry, very not smart person most of the time, but to hear those words is kind of a shocker.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is he gonna ride your pine?
I don't really know. I don't really have a lot of options. Don't really want to start AP. Don't really want to start McKinnon anymore. But so it's going to be something I have to deal with heading into the playoffs. And that's kind of the story with my team. You know, Brock, you're getting real hot. Parker's playing really well. Dan's staying pretty steady. And I'm kind of like the team that's experiencing a lot of question marks heading into the season or into the postseason. And like that's far different from what I expected. Turn of mid-season point when I was easily the, number 1 statistical team in the league. I don't know really, like the expectations for my team have suddenly shifted, and I'm making lineup decisions like every week that could make or break my entire season, pretty much. Like I benched Dez this week, worked out, but like, do I do it again? It's all this. It's a game right now. My lineup has turned into a game.
Yeah. Out of the top teams, for sure, you have probably the most. Who is Corf going to start?
Yeah.
I can't speak for all the playoff teams just at the moment, but I would say it's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I have 0 decisions each week unless someone gets hurt. It's really just the same thing every week.
I also have 0 decisions. Now that I've settled on Josh Jackson. But you know who's coming back, though?
I saw that. Who's coming back?
Stop.
I can't think of the Flash music right now.
I'm not going to help you either. Please help. You're a son of a bitch.
Hugh Jackson has big plans. Big plans.
Okay, I would take what Hugh Jackson says with a grain of salt.
I have a $10 bet with Tim that Tim is betting me that Josh Gordon's going to score 12 or more points this week.
12.
And I would say easiest $10 of my life. But
We'll see.
I'll probably have a 200-yard week.
Flash.
Typical Brock stuff.
I remembered.
Yeah. yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about my team. I'm kind of experiencing a fall from grace while also not really doing that because, like, I would say my playoff hopes are pretty safe. Pretty safe.
Yeah, it's definitely not
tied for the number one record in the league. But yeah, I mean, I lost the scoring edge, and my team kind of looks a little vulnerable right now. So, but Calvin and Carter to end the season, so that's gonna help. Maybe my team figures it out heading into that first playoff matchup. But
I'm sure you will.
Thanks, man. All right. What other playoff teams we got here? Dan. The Dan and Kelvin game. Another scare from one of these teams.
Just this year is just the best.
It is.
Bad teams are given scares or winning. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. Like it's what's amazing to me is how these things like line up sometimes, you know? Like Kelvin doesn't score more than 155 points all season long. 1 in 10 heading into the week, and he gets the draw with Dan, and what happens? 170.8.
Yeah.
Just
gave him everything he wanted and more.
Yeah. I mean,
he had the edge for a while. Most of Sunday, I think.
Yeah, Dan was very concerned. Like Dan was quitting the league.
Yeah.
Typical Tim fashion.
Yeah.
Losing on a Sunday, quitting. But yeah, no, I think like we kind of talked about it before, but like Kelvin's season, obviously 1-11. Like he's gonna finish as one of the worst teams like ever in terms of record. But actually not that bad of a team. And Parker and I are gonna it's definitely not a given that he won't knock one of us off. And seeing what he did this week was even more scary for us who see that on the schedule as like, oh yeah, we can do this. But Dan finds a way to win though. 4-game winning streak. He's staying pretty steady. Over the course of the season, honestly, not really getting too high, but never really dipping down too low. Just what is it here? He's 9-1 in his last 10 weeks, averaging 166 points per game. So, I mean, just very consistent. Obviously 9-1 in the last 10 weeks, very impressive. So, I mean, what do we think about Dan? Because Dan is still third in WIB and scoring, kind of being overshadowed by you, Brock, as you kind of like ascend your way up the standings. But Dan, still very scary team, and I mean, could win the pack or could win the Big Five yet. Could be the 1 seed.
I feel like the end of the season every year, it's always like the same conversation with Dan. Like he's not like the flashiest team going into the end of the year. Like he's not as hot as some other team, but he's always like pretty much right almost with them. And no one like talks about it because there's another flashy team going on. Like the beginning of this year where it was, hey, Dan's doing really good, but hey, look at Corf Squad. And now we got it's only been a week, but Brock's back, but
2 weeks.
Dan, 2 weeks. Brock's back, but here we got Dan putting up 175, and no one really notices.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, it's just I think a lot of it has to do with like the fact that it is Dan. Like, this team has been the definition of like consistent. Like, aside from that crazy 2014 season, like he's pretty much always been right there. Couple of seasons overshadowed by Parker in the Big Five, but like he's never missed the playoffs. He's probably not going to miss them this season. And, you know, he's going to go into the dance as potentially the 1 seed this year. And it's been, you know, he won that first one. We Dan drafted him, cursed the Dan draft. He hasn't won one since. So,
oh yes, I did a new curse. What was the one last year? I don't even remember.
Kelvin Curse.
Kelvin Curse. Oh, Curse of the Dan draft. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, kid's been one of the
Yeah,
best teams in Web all
it's also-
throughout, and he hasn't won since that year.
One of the best teams. Also, like we talk about how he's kind of a quiet best team. He's also kind of a quiet choker.
True.
Like we've had.
Wow, called out.
This is real. No one talks about 2014. People talk about me choking. No one talks about Dan choking, besides when me and him talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
sharing our misery.
yeah, first round exit. Then he lost in the title game with a 120-point performance, and then another first round exit last year. So I don't know. This, it's going to be one of those things where it's, the thing about the playoffs this year is like, not only do we not know who's like going to be in the playoffs, but once like that's all decided, like how are the matchups going to shake out?
Yeah.
Like you're going to have like potentially like a Brock versus Dan like right away again. Or like any number of things, and it's going to be kind of wild to see how that actually plays out.
Yeah, we haven't even had time to even think about that with this year.
Yeah,
right.
Matchups, playoff matchups.
Oh man, I'm really excited for week 14. Like when we start to get all this stuff locked down and figured out, like.
This is what we envisioned with the 4-team, like the small playoff, like we went with the 4-team, not 6, and then went with the 1 week playoff, and hopefully we'll get some really entertaining weeks, and it's working.
Yeah, for sure. The 1 week playoff it's such a must. Like I couldn't even think about doing the 2 week ones.
Yeah,
it's awful. Yeah. All right. What do we got yet? Is that it?
I don't even know.
Got one
They
more.
all just like blended together.
Sorry. Caleb, did you play a game this week?
Yeah, certain 8-win team over here.
All right. Caleb, I'm sorry that the season has been, an attack Caleb kind of a season, and it's only escalated. But you know what? You're on a 3-game winning streak. You're 8-4. You have a share of the Pac-5 lead with 2 games to play. You're having a good season, all right?
Maybe good isn't the right word. I don't know what the word is, but
I don't know what the word is either. But I think that at some point you have to kind of throw the numbers out of the window. You know, like, would you agree? Like, it's week 13. Like, we're approaching week 13. Traditionally, at this point of the season, like the playoffs are locked down. You have like your bottom 4 scoring teams all like trying to figure out who's going to get the number 1 overall pick. This year, you have the number 9 scoring team in a conference championship race, and on a 3-game winning streak, going into what is now one of the biggest games that Caleb has ever played in with this team. Like it's crazy. Like I 136.1 points per game with a 3.3 WIB. He's on pace to flirt with being the luckiest team ever, rivaling the Tim team from 2014.
My favorite part of every week now is when something, which it happens every week, something insanely lucky that happens to Caleb, and he just gets eviscerated by Webb on Twitter.
The hashtag fuck
Caleb
that started trending was just that's a tough blow, but
it's a rough hashtag.
Yeah,
man.
But
it's pretty to the point. Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, my offense has like sort of been doing good things. Like Jamal Williams this week with one of the happiest moments of my life. I mean, he literally he won me like 3 fantasy games with his performance. Joe Mixon breakout game. I don't know. It's nice right now, except for the defensive line. Got one combined point out of DeForest Buckner and David Irving. David Irving had 4 straight games with a sack coming back from a suspension. I pick him up and he doesn't have a single sack in 3 straight games. Dropped.
They both promptly get cut.
Yeah.
It's a brutal business. It's a tomorrow business, man.
It is.
We live in the now.
As soon as those rosters were opened up to do stuff, gone out the door. I am so pissed off about that.
Pack your
My
fucking
whole
bag.
defense in general. It's besides the linebackers, I got like a combined like 10 points. I don't even like I don't know. Defense is a shit show right now. But
I have a stat.
oh yeah.
Okay.
I have a stat that's going to make you, Caleb, feel better and maybe gather some respect for you amongst the league.
Hey, okay. All right.
Through the first 6 games of the season, you were 4-2, averaging 124.6 points per game. Over the last 6 games, you are 4-2, averaging 147.7 points per game. So you've made a significant jump in points. Like you've had a tale of 2 halves of your season, and you're being pretty weighed down by what was like an abysmal scoring start for your team.
Yeah.
And now you're honestly not scoring that poorly over the last half of the season. 148 points per game, that's right there with a Parker,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things where maybe the numbers do lie a little bit, because I mean you had some players that were struggling, you had some injuries and stuff like that, and now you're seeing some life out of these guys like Mixon, even Jamal Williams now. And maybe it's not fair to judge your team based on your scoring ranking right now, because honestly, during this 3-game winning streak, you're averaging over 150 points a game. I don't know, it's kind of you're honestly performing better than Tim over the majority of this last stretch of the season. So.
The thing that's killing his rep on the back end of this season, though, is mostly the fucking Carson Wentz kneel downs.
Yeah, well, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
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 I mean, there's no question that it's been extremely lucky. Let's just get that out of the way. You're at a 1.58 luck factor, playing at the level of a 5-win team. But
it's better than a 2-win team, which is what he was at for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The team's coming around. I don't know if you'll give you could give Brock a run for his money. Certainly you could. But I think you could really give Tim a run for his money in that last game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all right. Well, that's week 12. And it's still nuts.
Oh, it's so nuts.
Week 13 is only going to be more chaos, more insanity.
Yeah.
But we may end the week with some answers. We'll find out.
Maybe.
But let's run through some of these games. There's a couple big ones.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Let's start with the Pac-5 again this week with the Brock and Caleb matchup that everybody's talking about. They're flashing it. It's all over the place. Analysts are getting.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about it. People are saying it's a must-win for each team.
I think that it's going to determine a lot. It's going to determine a lot heading into the last week. Could very well be the end of Caleb Magic 2K17. Could also be the end of the Brock turnaround 2K17. We'll see.
One of those things.
One of those things is certain to happen. All right. What do we think? I mean, I got 2 biased sources sitting here. I'm going to have to be the mediator here.
Yeah. I'm going to take Honey Bunches of Oats.
Why?
really, really like good guy.
Plays hard, loves the game.
Yeah, that sounds like you're leaning towards him as well.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Only one of these teams has been playing playoff games for the last however many weeks. And that team is David Wilson Batman. And they're going to bring home the crown. I'm picking myself.
All right. Well, you know what time it is.
Well,
you know, I did mention Caleb's doing pretty well in these last 6 games. And I think he's really trending up. But you want to know who's doing really well in these last 6 games? That's Brock. Averaging a league best over that stretch, 165.7 points per game, with a couple of week highs and a 220-point explosion against a Pac-5 rival. And for that, I'm taking the king of the Pac-5 to move into strike zone and take the crown 4 years running.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the conference
Brown to the
championship
crown.
races fire me up. Love it. All right. All right, second Pac-5 matchup. We got a good old Josh and Dave game this week.
Oh, baby.
A lot of playoff
Favorite.
implications here.
Someday this will be the game, man. It's just not this week.
Yeah. Also, I have to apologize for any of the non-playoff hopefuls listening. I know we didn't really talk about your teams this week, but come on. It's time to talk playoffs. You guys get draft season.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Josh and Dave playing a nice little game here. Josh, lowest scoring team in the league? No, Dave's now. Oh, yeah, okay. Dave reclaimed lowest scoring team in the league. So the 2 lowest scoring teams in the league
Battle it out.
battle it out. One's 5 and 7 though. Probably not going to get Saquon.
Nope. Wow, would it be amazing if Saquon Barkley was a defensive lineman? Saquon. On topic though, I'm picking Dave.
All right.
I believe I said last week I was going to pick him the rest of the year.
I think you did
I
say
don't
that.
remember.
Very up and down team.
Yeah.
Josh is pretty consistent from like 125 to 145. I'm actually I'm gonna go Dave.
Well, you know, Dave earlier this week, he tweeted something out. He guaranteed a win against me and didn't pull through and said he'd finish the season 8-6. That's not going to happen. So
Lack of integrity?
yeah, I'm not saying it, but you know, the questions, you know,
The word guarantee implies that it's gonna happen.
You know, that means something in this day and age. Guarantees.
I don't know if I can look at that team the same ever again.
I definitely can't, and that's why I'm picking Josh this week.
All right. I can understand that.
I mean, he can earn my trust back, but it's a long road ahead.
God, Dave's gonna be pissed. All right, Big 5. Stakes aren't quite so high in terms of head-to-head stuff, but these teams still got to win these games. Mingo and Carter. Brock's just like staring like, what?
How did it take
Well-
the money makers? The money makers. Picking them.
Book the moneymakers.
Stop.
I'm just kidding. I'm taking bingo.
Thank you.
Hey, if Carter wins, can we suck his dick next week?
Sure.
All
I'll be there for it.
Awesome.
Carter in the last 4 weeks. Whoops, what did I just do? Carter in the last 4 weeks. 128 points per game with 2 week lows. I'm going to pick myself.
We didn't get a chance to talk about Greg Zuerlein, but another 17-pointer this week. That's 4 17-point games in his last 5 games. All 17.
I swear to God,
RB1.
if Greg Zuerlein is the difference in our game this week and I lose because of it, I will go on using my powers and cut him off of Carter's team.
All right.
You heard it
I
here
love
first.
threatening collusion and all that.
Hey, what are we on the topic of kickers real quick? Like the whole you don't lose a point if you miss an extra point, but you lose a point if you miss a field goal.
Oh yeah, I saw that. We were going to talk about that.
I
So
don't know.
that's
On the topic of also on the topic of kickers, you can finish your thought actually because I'm going to change it a little bit.
Well, I was just going to say that I noticed that you don't lose a point for missing an extra point.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of strange.
Do we need to nerf kickers?
Yes.
Like I want to do some research on the scores for kicker by year.
Have that ready for next week.
It's crazy.
Also on the topic of kickers, David Wilson Batman is where kickers go to die.
Also,
To die.
yeah.
Kai Forbath missed 1 field goal this year. Before I picked him up 2 weeks ago, he's missed 4 cents.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to pick up Greg Zuerlein real quick.
Plus,
Because, yeah. All right. And then Parker and Calvin. So, I mean, Carter and Calvin are both kind of sneaky matchups at this point of the season. A little bit like it's easy to underestimate them. But I think I'm going to pick Parker in this one. Calvin will bump that losing streak to 11, which I think would be the second most all time. It might already be the second most, but
I'll take Calvin to give Parker a scare. But I'll take Parker to win.
all right.
Give me Parker.
I'm just doing some quick search. Okay, Josh actually has the second longest, and it's 13. All right. Anyway. And then interconference game of the week. Big one. Dan and Tim.
Ooh.
Tim's season potentially hanging in the balance. And Dan looking to solidify his playoff position and potentially win the Big Five.
I am going to take Dan in the second consecutive 100-point loss from Tim.
Wow.
He won't.
He won't.
I don't know. For some reason, something's telling me to pick Tim here. God, Russell Wilson is the QB1, folks.
Yep.
These numbers he's putting up is insane. I haven't even looked at this. Oh my God. Averaging 23 points a game. Wow. Meanwhile, a little trouble in paradise for Dan and Alex Smith. Rumors of getting benched. I'm going to give the quarterback advantage to Tim and the win to Tim.
Ooh.
So Tim wins quarterback battle, therefore wins the game.
Yeah. That's what I'm going
All
with.
right. Well, the good news for Tim is that he scored his first ever victory over Dan in week 2. It was a very big moment for his franchise. And now he gets a chance to do it again. The bad news for Tim is that Dan scored 129.5 points in that game. And he hasn't scored, he's only had 1 week since that point where he scored less than 140 points. Whereas Tim has had multiple of those weeks over that same period. And also, Tim is falling off the rails, both with his team and his mental state. He's a loose cannon right now, and I think he's going to make some bad lineup decisions this week, and Dan is going to capitalize.
Let's just take a moment to think about that a playoff contender in the year 2017 is consistently starting Vernon Davis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty wild. Yeah. I don't know, guys. It's going to be something else. I think, like, we all kind of have, like, our own images of what we think these last 2 weeks are going to be like, but the season has told us anything, those images will most likely be shattered. And somebody is going to make the playoffs on some kind of miracle, whether it be Caleb or Tim or Parker or any of these teams. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Next week we should have some answers. So I think that's going to do it for us this week. What do you think?
That's all I got.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving into week 13. 2 weeks to go. It's getting exciting. Let's make it a great week.